Off-meta players are interesting creatures. You intentionally don armaments that are not as successful as others. You see beauty where others do not, and it is on seasonal updates and sandbox changes that you take a moment of time to appreciate your own resolve and to hold to those loadouts and weapons that many could not or would not appreciate. And when an update, such as this season's launch, updates and improves those off-meta loadouts you already love, you don't see just satisfaction. You see vindication. You know that those who would taunt your choice to equip gear for the fun of it must now forcefully take a back seat, if even just for a moment, to give attention to what you already knew to be redeemable and enjoyable. Indeed, while the masses were content with simply turning off their brain and letting popularity make decisions for them, you treated every matchup with those weapons foreign to the top 10 popularity list like partnership. You established a sort of violence-driven communication with your off-meta loadout, where success became your validation and defeat became your determination-driven spite. In some way, a part of your identity became wrapped in the loadout you ran, as if these external decisions mildly reflected something about you inwardly. And now, the sandbox is about to witness you. Welcome to Stupid Builds, where I will show you some stupid builds. Some of these builds are our own creation, some are from our live stream chat, but all of them are stupid because of how strong they secretly are. Sweet Business did not need a buff. Am I happy it got a buff? Absolutely. However, I shudder in fear at the idea that if the meta shakes out just right, we might be entering into a crucible where players are able to use the vibration on their controllers as a neck massager. Yeah. Regardless, I am glad that whomever blackmailed the sandbox leads at Bungie decided to go with something that on paper should never exist. For those of you in the dark, Sweet Business just received an update where it will fire an explosive round every 20 rounds, and will continue to fire consecutively more explosive rounds as the weapon spins up. Did the Sweet Business need this? No. Did the Sweet Business want this? You're damn right it did. At max spin up, the Sweet Business will drill a bloody hole through a Guardian's head in 0.6 seconds, which, for those keeping track at home, is most weapons' time to kill. With kill clip. But of course, the drawback is how loud and slow you are while attempting this lead-based conference call with the Guardian's funeral. So how do we counteract our drawbacks? We lean into them. To hell with stealth. To hell with mobility. Strap on the icefall mantles, throw down some ice enhanced with the damage resistance of Whisper of Chains, and show them the song of your people. Icefall mantles are a long-forgotten Titan exotic that exchanges your barricade with 100 health overshield. This, combined with the damage resistance from your ice crystals, pushes your total HP to rival even a super in survivability. Unfortunately, like Overwatch 2's PvE mode, Icefall Mantles seem to have been forgotten about by the developers. What? Too soon? Icefalls will always start out on respawn with 0 energy, meaning you have to bide your time until your unstoppable force can be paired with the immovable object. Being that we are already pushing our survivability beyond human limits, we pair this entire setup with a glaive, which sits at a good range to complement our accuracy by volume lead cannon. Just like our Sweet Business, the glaive's initial time to kill is a tad slow, but our increased survivability makes up for that. And, perhaps even more concerningly, while we are holding our glaive's shield down with the rest of our setup, we have, I really wish this was an exaggeration, more health than a super. With the 100 health we are getting from the Icefall Overshield, and 200 HP at max resilience, plus the 50 damage resistance of the glaive, we have effectively 600 HP. And to answer your question, yes, you feel like you could survive being struck by a Cabal drop pod. Oh, the look of pure confusion, despair, and fear when shotgun monkeys come sliding around that corner only to have their gusto met with silence. For the rest of your setup, use Tectonic Harvest, Howl of the Storm, Whisper of Shards, Torment, and the aforementioned Whisper of Rhyme. Don't think too hard about the armor mods. Stack some basic unflinching, targeting, and ability regeneration items, and let the 900 RPM wall of lead speak for itself. I swear to the Traveler, if the Sweet Business becomes meta, I will! Well, actually, I wouldn't know exactly how to feel about that. Per this confounded rating system, I rate this build 4 Titanfall 2s out of 7 Apex Legends. Whatever in the hell that means. Bad Juju is yet another weapon that was decently viable, but we are happy to have buffed. Clocking in at a respectable .87 time to kill, at ranges most Crucible maps will ever see, Bad Juju is like the Cadillac of pulse rifles, without the awful cheap perfume smell. Bad Juju will now reward more recoil control, which is nice, but this weapon still feels a few beats short of a truly fantastic being. But Chromatic Fire, on the other hand. Chromatic Fire now grants all kinetic precision kills a subclass-flavored explosion rather than the generic elemental damage. Scorch for Solar, Weaken for Void, Slow for Stasis, Blind for Arc, but for us, Sever for Strand. Why do we choose Strand over the rest of the classes? Primarily, the new Wanderer aspect. While yes, a Sever effect is arguably one of the weaker options on this list, a Strand Sever is one of the few things on that list that doesn't rely on further damage to see its real value. Free tangles on kills. With our Weaver's Trance from our Shackle Grenade, we can allow one kill to chain into several from the Suspending Blast. But even if our grenade isn't available, we will still see some value because of Chromatic Fire. This build will see more value in closer-knit maps with enemies huddled together for warmth. Focus your kit on getting value from your Suspending Tangles. Try the fragments, Continuity, Mind, Evolution, and Generation. For the secondary, I ran a quick-draw Demolitionist shotgun, but feel free to find something that better suits your needs. This build is fine, but to the -1 Bungie developers watching this video, the Bad Juju and a few other older exotics like it still need some tuning to really find a place in the sandbox. This weapon still feels like Thresh, Rampage, and Subsistence on a pulse rifle. But don't let my desire for more buffs dissuade you from giving this loadout a try. I give this 3 bananas out of 11 songbirds, again with the stupid ratings. Tommy's matchbook is the solar younger brother of the Sweet Business. Both require you to hold down the trigger for bonus damage, and both require a clever hand to build around their weaknesses. Unfortunately for Tommy's, it also has the drawback of dealing damage to the user, but its latest buff, which grants its overheating shots to scorch targets, helps tremendously to avoid these drawbacks. Loreley's Splendor Helm is a tried-and-true staple of a Titan's repertoire, and for the Tommies, it allows us to loop the scorch damage with the fragment Ember of Singing. Lorelei provides the healing we need to pin the trigger with Tommies, and we can get free sunspots and ability damage bonus with the aspect Roaring Flames and Soul of Victus. In fact, now that I'm considering it, it might be worth trying with the Ashen Wakes and the Tommies, because we can get that Roaring Flame up with weapon kills, previously only possible with the Skyburner's Oath. We might as well get as much free goodies as we can and run Searing for melee energy, on the scorch shots provided from the spun-up Tommy's matchbook kills. Lord knows that since the nerfs to shoulder charge, we are going to need it. As for my secondary, I decided to give this a go with a sniper rifle, but I'm thinking it might be wiser to lean in harder on Tommy's natural fiery aggression and do something like a shotgun or a grenade launcher. Just remember to keep an eye on your health and barricade energy for the sake of your Lorelei's Splendor Helm, and you should generally find this build to be both very fun and very effective. I think this channel is known for spicy things, so this build earns 14 half-used Tabasco bottles out of 2 Hot One Host's bald heads. A quick heads up, I have heard if you subscribe somewhere, people get burritos. And you've made it this far anyway, right? You do not know how much I have wanted this handsome Squidward-looking face mask to be worth it in PvP. And by the 9, I think with the latest buffs I might have actually found a build for it. The Eternal Warrior now grants an increasing bonus to arc weapon damage. This buff is small, but any small increase in the damage of an already fast-firing weapon, such as the Cold Heart, will be multiplied more often over a longer period. Cold Heart, and all trace rifles, got a small bump in their ease of use, granting them slightly more forgiving head-to-body shot ratios, and an increase in flinch resistance with higher stabilities. I have, historically, despised Cold Heart, and would only ever bring them up if forced to, like talking about politics with a weird uncle over Christmas dinner. So that should clue you in that if me, the ghost that loathes the sight of these things, is telling you to chance your afternoon with this weapon, it may be more deadly than my words let on. A quick tip for people who are cool enough to try this build. When ramping up the damage with Cold Heart, you can get a small increase in its ramping point by tap firing it once or twice. This will slow your time to kill, but it's more ammo efficient, especially at longer ranges. For my subclass, I decided to try my hand with a Thunderclap melee and a knockout setup. The melee is still fun, but passable. It really is the closest thing we will ever get to a first-person Falcon Punch, but just like the mythical Stockender, we use this more to send a message rather than to win. The Cold Heart is a special weapon. This is obvious, but if we run the fragment Spark of Beacons, we will make our Cold Heart cause blinding explosions on headshot kills. Very fun build, and I would not be surprised at all if the Cold Heart eventually catches a nerf for how effective it's been. 5 forks out of 3 electrical outlets. Okay, that one I understand. Alright, hunters, we didn't forget about you. Graviton Lance now fires faster, and the damage is more evenly split between its 2 shots. This makes the weapon feel much better, more similar to the Revision Zero, and less like trying to kill someone with a worse scout rifle. Its rework bumps its time to kill from a snail's pace 1 second to a rather frightening 0.67, bringing it in line with other pulse rifles of similar range. This gives us good flexibility at range, but why not give ourselves some tools in close quarter combat? The new Hunter's aspect creates a sort of shadow clone where we dodge, which explodes into threadlings upon detonation. This might fool a minion of the darkness whose AI processing power is 2 hamsters on a treadmill, but a player will never buy it. So why not help them out? Gemini Jesters obscures the vision of players and removes their radar, allowing us to make our getaway just a bit easier. At best, they take the bait like an idiot. At worst, they are forced to respect our space as we break line of sight without being tracked on radar. We need something in CQC to handle enemies who get too close to us, so we run an SMG or a sidearm, depending on your preference. For our second aspect, run Widow's Silk for a second grenade charge, which we will use Grapple for even more escape artist shenanigans. Fragments, Mind, Ascent, Generation, and Warding. Yes, Warding. Being that we are dodging a lot as our main gameplay loop, we run into Reaper Mod for a free orb of power from kills on any idiots we dupe with the body double. The playstyle of this is very fun. This aspect might be my new favorite. Remember to leave a like if you want more bi-weekly stupid builds. Bless your faces, and deuces.
Country road.